All right, quick video this time. Quick recap of the last couple of days. Another weather tool I'm really quite fond of is Weather Prediction Center's Surface Archive. So it's pretty much, you can go back in time for years for the digital database, access weather maps. I've pulled a couple up. This is Sunday morning, 7 a.m. These sort of low pressure and the cold front of this really broke down a bit. You see there's 5 different centers of low pressure mapped here, and the warm front also sort of wasn't quite as potent as they anticipated. So I think what we ended up with here was a really almost like a wind tunnel effect where, yes, the wind was out of the southwest, but it wasn't sort of that typical warm, moist air mass that we associate with migration this time of year. I also think, too, that this front didn't quite make it into southern Ontario overnight, so nocturnal migration from Saturday into Sunday morning wasn't quite as good as we were hoping. Lots and lots of birds were on the move. They just didn't quite hit our area. Same thing Monday morning. The wind was even stronger. So in the video, I talked about how I think there could be a good reverse migration, or hawks are going to be making this S-bend around Erie and Ontario. I think it just picked up a little too much too early in the day for those events to unfold. I do think lots of birds took advantage of 100-kilometer-an-hour tailwinds, and this was fairly evident in people saying, "Oh, I'm at Peely and I'm not seeing many warblers or any warblers really," whereas birders in Algonquin managed to find a yellow-rumped warbler. So I think a bird like that decided it was time to go all the way, and passing over the Great Lakes was not a barrier. Probably took less than an hour for the bird to cross that distance. So there was no wave of birds that said, "Hey, the sun is coming up, I need to land at the tip of Peely because it's the first land I see." They pretty much were thrown all across the province. So that played out with that species. Other species like Louisiana water thrush. One was seen at Peely today, and that's not unexpected for this time of year. But I think the interesting element is when only one is seen at Peely, but 2 are seen in Waterloo, and presumably birds went straight back to the breeding grounds without having to stop short. Some of the rarities, like there were rarities associated with the event. I saw Henslow sparrow, mountain bluebird in Illinois, things like cattle egrets, American white pelicans, the white-winged dove at Rondo. Certainly took advantage of the weather and arrived about a month earlier than last year. It's sort of debatable in terms of its vagrancy potential. I also thought it was interesting how one of my earlier videos I roughly made the comment that it seems like Beamer only gets 10% of the birds of places like Derby Hill or Braddock Bay on strong southwest winds. And I think both Derby and Braddock had 3,500 bird days, and both of those days at Beamer were about 350. So it sort of illustrates that fact where things just weren't willing to fight the wind to make the bend. Anything that has to go that way probably waited or made little progress, and the things that were more than willing to go the long way around the lake are sort of long gone. One other thing I just wanted to mention in regards to bird migration was sort of the thought that, so this is Sunday morning again, I think there were a lot of birds that had sort of hit the Gulf here. Broad-winged hawks are certainly moving, and some neotropic migrants. And there were a lot of birds in our area that had been dealing with the cold for a period of time, and we were finally ready to move. So inevitably ended up with a lot of things that left, and there's just too much distance, especially for a bird like broad-winged hawk. That really showed quite well, where yes, the winds were absolutely perfect for them to cover huge distances, and they presumably covered huge distances, but they just, thousands did not reach our shores in time for there to be a hawk flight. I know some were seen in Sarnia, a handful were seen Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. Presumably now they're close, so the adage for this time of year is, as long as it's sunny, the birds are going to be migrating. So, now at some point in the next week or so, there's probably going to be a subpar day where someone's going to see a huge number of broad-winged hawks just because they happen to be so close, thanks to the weather over the weekend. One thing I wanted to do going forwards is just to look at the upcoming weather as well, which is sort of where these videos started. So this is today. This is the 850 millibar height, so I'm just sort of looking for any warm air masses as opposed to precipitation. So this weekend, Saturday, it looks like we're going to have some warm weather, more southwesterly flow. Zooming into the future, here's sort of another blast of strong southwest winds Wednesday, April 19th. If either of these come to pass, as we move closer and closer into May, it's just going to mean that birds are closer and closer. There's going to be more individuals and a higher diversity of species ready to take advantage of it and get here going forward. So this is 240 hours out. I don't like to go much further than that. A couple of little interesting spurts of good weather, and that's more traditional too. I'm going to take a look at the precipitation and see how this matches up. So I'm going to scoot ahead to the weekend, switch it over to the rain. more traditional sort of low pressure with a warm, moist air mass, and here you can see the rain associated with it. This rain has the potential to be great or terrible. So a situation like this, you will have that vagrancy potential, but there's also that potential for just big number of birds dropping down. And the closer you get to a big event, especially like a fallout, which is Point Pelee is famous for, I find those events are really on a knife edge, where the higher the chances are for this incredible event happening, the chances of all the birds being blocked by the rain and you seeing nothing also increases. So this is a little too far away to really know how the rain's going to play out, but just seeing that southwesterly wind and a mix of rain in the area brings me hope for a pretty exciting day. Maybe Sunday morning. And if I scoot ahead to the other event on Wednesday, it looks like more of the same. There's a lot of rain associated with this warm southwesterly flow. So, if things work in your favor, you end up with unbelievably exciting birding. And if this rain forms, just south of Lake Erie in Ohio, then birders in Ohio have an amazing day and at Pelee and thinking of things that could have been. So yeah, just a couple of events that look exciting going forwards, and we'll be back with more in the future.